Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel. Today we're getting into Claressa Shields, we're also talking about Papoose, and of course we've got to discuss Remy Ma, with a little side mention of Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker. Now this conversation isn't really about Kandi and Todd like that, it's more about that famous saying everybody keeps repeating, if he wanted to, he would. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Kandi filed for divorce from Todd, but if you remember correctly, their separation actually started around July of last year. And yes, they had a prenuptial agreement already in place. Well, today the divorce is officially finalized. That means they're legally single now and free to move however they want. They can publicly date whoever they want without people acting shocked or turning it into a scandal. Then, only a few months later, the divorce was finalized in January of this year. And listen, it really isn't complicated. They had properties, money, and shared assets, similar to what people say Remy Ma and Papoose have together. From what's been reported, there wasn't some massive battle over alimony or support either. Instead, they worked out an agreement about custody and how time with the kids would be divided. But here's the real point I'm getting at. If someone truly wanted the divorce done, it would already be done. Because from Remy's side of the story, we've heard plenty. She says she hired an attorney. According to her, the attorney contacted Papoose multiple times, trying to arrange a simple, uncontested divorce. The idea was to keep everything private and out of the public spotlight. She even claimed she wasn't asking him for anything financially. He wouldn't have had to pay her a single dollar. All he had to do was sign the paperwork. That's it, just sign on the dotted line. But according to what's being said, Papoose didn't want to do that, because allegedly he does not want to officially divorce Remy Ma. And even that dramatic divorce filing he waved around last year, the one with the wrinkled paperwork, never really moved forward. There were no updates after that.
No files motions filed, no court hearings scheduled, and no real progress in the case. No custody arrangements, no parenting plan, no official steps toward actually closing the chapter. According to Remy Ma, the way she talks about things, it almost sounds like she and Papoose are still functioning like a married couple in certain ways. When TMZ caught up with her, she basically said if she calls Papoose, he answers. She explained that whenever she needs him, especially when it comes to their daughter or getting her to New York, he'll jump on the first flight. Remy even said everything between them runs smoothly, almost like a well-oiled machine. Her point was basically, I'm not a problematic woman, just don't push me there. But here's the thing that makes people pause. It's been years now. Remy herself allegedly said the last time they were really operating as husband and wife was back in 2022. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields admitted during her interview on the Tamron Hall show that she and Papoose had been communicating through DMs since 2020. So if you do the math, that's going on 5, maybe 6 years of this situation continuing. And during that whole time, Papoose still hasn't finalized a divorce from his wife. He hasn't officially become legally single, and he hasn't publicly closed that chapter. Which raises the big question a lot of people are asking right now. Is there even going to be a divorce decree at all? Because from the outside looking in, it seems like, at least on Papoose's side, he may not want the divorce to happen. Now, whether Remy has changed her stance since airing things out publicly, nobody really knows. Some people are even speculating that now that Papoose is connected to Claressa and her growing success, maybe that dynamic has shifted things. But that part is speculation. What we do know is this. There hasn't been any real movement in court regarding a divorce, and that's the part that has people confused, because when other celebrities decide they're truly done with a marriage, they usually move quickly to finalize it. A lot of them try to wrap the process up within 6 months if possible. The only time things usually drag out is when there are huge assets, businesses, properties, or complicated custody agreements involved. Those situations can take time to sort out. But when both parties are truly finished with the relationship, they typically push to finalize the divorce so everyone can move forward. That way, they say they're legally free to date, remarry, or simply live their lives without complications.
Some people even decide they never want to marry again after a difficult divorce. But the key point is that they still close the legal chapter first. So naturally, the question keeps coming up. What exactly is holding up the divorce between Remy Ma and Papoose? From the outside perspective, it looks like Papoose may simply not want to sign off on ending the marriage. And that's why some critics are questioning why Claressa Shields keeps defending the situation online. She's been telling people that divorces can take a long time and that Papoose is simply a married man going through the process. But skeptics say the situation looks more like she's being told what she wants to hear. Because at the end of the day, divorce filings and court actions are public record in most states. And if there were real proceedings moving forward, people would likely be able to see that documented somewhere. You'll see receipts like filing fees being paid. Sometimes those payments even get adjusted or credited depending on the state and its court rules. At some point, the record updates to say final divorce decree. Before that, though, you might see other steps listed in the docket. Things like parenting classes, co-parenting courses, or scheduling arrangements for the kids. Sometimes there's even documentation about counseling if the children need support during the transition. The point is that all of that normally appears in the case file. Every piece of it shows up in the court documents. You can even see who was served the divorce papers. And if the court had trouble serving the paperwork, that shows up too. For example, if there were issues finding someone's address or getting the documents delivered properly, the docket usually reflects that. But here's the bigger point people keep making. If someone truly wanted the divorce finalized, they would push the process forward. Especially after Papoose publicly filed paperwork last year, many assumed the case would move quickly. But instead, it seems like things just stalled out, which is why some observers believe he simply doesn't want the divorce. That's why many people argue that if Remy Ma hadn't exposed certain things publicly, the situation might look very different today. Because, according to that perspective, if the public never saw how things were playing out, Papoose might have kept maintaining the same setup behind the scenes. Even if Remy wanted distance, people believe he would have continued finding ways to stay around as long as the public image stayed intact.
But once the situation became public and people started questioning his actions, everything shifted. They were already attending events like the BET Awards and moving in those spaces. So critics say the only major difference now is age. And some believe Papoose understands exactly how the situation benefits him. They also point out that when diss tracks were released recently, Claressa's name wasn't even mentioned directly. Instead, the references focused on Remy Ma. This led some people to question who the real focus of the conflict actually was. So the argument keeps circling back to the same point. If someone truly wanted the marriage to end, the divorce would already be finalized. But years have passed, and the legal situation still hasn't reached that stage. That's why critics keep reminding Claressa that she's been connected to a married man for quite some time now. And as of today, there's still no official divorce decree closing that chapter. Some skeptics even believe Papoose may simply be waiting to see how things play out financially and professionally. In that theory, he continues riding whatever opportunities come along during this moment. Meanwhile, the supporters of Remy argue that she's focused on building a long-term legacy and generational wealth, and they believe the real contrast is between investing for the future and simply spending in the moment. Anyway, that's the conversation people keep having around this situation. If you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more updates and commentary.